What's up? My name is Jacob. Welcome back to 80/20 Spirituality, the show where we talk about the 80/20 of spirituality. Shocker, right? So what I mean when I say that, the 20% of spiritual practices that bring about 80% of the results, and that result being personal transformation permanently and connection to God, source, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, let's get into it. So a little bit of what I'm learning in my own adventure right now is this idea of creating, which is what you're seeing here right now. Now, Einstein has a quote that I'm going to paraphrase that is, you don't truly understand something unless you can explain it clearly to a third grader. And that applies to here in the teaching and into the creating side of things. Now, oftentimes when we are down the spiritual path, or just down the path of self-progression in general, you fall into an interesting situation where you learn a lot, you apply a lot, you learn more, you apply more. And then you feel like you hit this rut of just like, okay, like, well, what do I do now? Which is where I was at previous to this. And the answer is so funnily, like, so surprisingly simple. You know how all this usually is? It's like we can make it all complicated, but it's actually as simple as creating and sharing and teaching. Which might not sound too crazy, right? It often isn't. It's the application that's the crazy part. But why does that work? And why does it fall into this 20% category? Or at least what I'm going to argue why it should fall into the 20% category. Now let's take a look closer at what creativity is and what we mean when we say spirituality and spiritual transformation. So, spirituality being, oh, I am learning more about myself, and as a result, I am connecting to God more. That's the framework that I'm going to work with here. And there's a whole reason why that works, in my opinion, but we can get into that in a different video, but we're just going to assume that's true. So, if our goal in spirituality is to transform and change and to connect more with God, and we realize now that we do that through self-exploration, self-transformation, then creating as a byproduct and teaching is a way of, one, solidifying the information that you've learned so far, two, you're learning it in a totally different way because now you're teaching it, now you're explaining it. And then three, more specifically on the creative end of the spectrum. Why is that so important? Well, it's because it's a unique expression of you. It's a unique expression of what you've learned. And why is that important? Well, because when you're expressing this, when you're almost digging through this dirt, so to speak, to find like these little nuggets of gold, little nuggets of creativity, you end up actually clearing away a lot of other bullshit that has been bothering you up until this point. And through this creative process, you learn more about yourself, which leads to you learning more about like this highest expression of self, which then leads to deeper connection with God, deeper connection with spirit. Now, it might sound like hocus pocus, right? But just give it a shot. Like, if you feel like you're in a rut right now, why not try creating something? Doesn't really matter what it is, honestly. For me, it's videos. And for a long time, I was in this rut of like, I don't want to create, blah, 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 all the excuses that people give. And now I'm here. And as I'm creating, I feel this deeper connection in general. Because if God really did make us, let's say, then would he not want us to express what he's made, right? To glorify him via our own expression. Because there's a verse in Matthew that says, let your light so shine forth among men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father, which is in heaven. Now, what could be a good work? A good work could literally be creating something amazing, right? Doesn't have to be amazing. It could just be something simple or even mundane in comparison. But it's amazing to you and it's amazing to God, and that's the thing that's important. And through that connection, you're going to be able to channel those feelings of God much easier. You'll be able to give them a home to live in. And through that process, the argument here is that it will help transform you. And what are the benefits of being transformed? More peace, more happiness, adaptability, and generally attracting the people that you want into your life to be there. So I would say it's pretty solid rewards, if not a little ambiguous. But give it a shot, see what happens. That's it for today.